Second take at the Artorias figma. The weapon now is made of wood and brass. Before it was the whole thing made of brass, but it was way too heavy for the articulation. For articulations, we got full arm mobility. I mean, as any figma would have. On both arms, I end up changing the shoulder plate because before it was attached to the armor and it only have this much range of motion. So now that I attach it to the shoulder, it has a full arm articulation, which is good. The chest was also changed. I end up cutting it, so I mean, since my favorite weapon is the profane greatsword, this would, wait, let me see if I have it. Okay, so since my favorite weapon is the profane greatsword, crap, I don't wanna, okay. So this one will go here, and then, whoops, crap. I've been using it so much that the joints are getting weaker. Maybe I'll do the joints in silver. That should fix the problem. Okay, so when I did the profane sword, I wanted it to, you know, like in game, to hold it like this. There you go. On the previous design, since the chest was completely, you know, the whole, I designed it completely, you know, covering everything, the arm will be impeded by the chest plate. So this design actually fixed that problem. No, let it go. Let it go, you bitch. Okay. So waist articulations are all there, like any figma. I end up removing the inner armor that I had on the stomach, so I could have, you know, the Artorias pose, like, you know, like on Dark Souls 1, when he's like this with the weapon on top. Yes. Leg articulation, I end up changing the groin guard. I end up cutting it on the bottom so it will have more articulation. Like I can actually close the legs now. It has full range on legs and ankles on both legs. Which is kind of cool, right? Now, the belt. The belt is pretty much the same design as before. I end up, no, I made this one new and longer. So it can actually, the belt is actually attached to the groin guard. So, you know, originally it was attached to the legs, but it will get on the way pretty much. Then what else? The whole thing is made of brass, so it has quite a bit of weight to it, which is good. So it can stay, still. Like when you do the Artorias pose, it actually stays in place. The head is the same thing. It can move, but not as much because I end up sacrificing some of the articulation here so it can look, human. Now, the face, like Artorias, and the hair is actually a strength of mine. I mean, I have long hair, so I end up using it. This is the Artorias. Wait, no, before that. Weapons. As you can see, wait, let me bring the other ones. As you can see, I originally made. Where's the other fucking figma? Okay, so the first Figma I made was this one. I used, wait, no, it was not a Figma. I only used one of those wooden dolls. And I mean, it was the first thing I ever made. So you can tell it was original. Joints were I mean, the joints were there, but it was very stiff because it's just a wooden doll. The helm is removable. I also made the granddad helm. The theme was what's it called? The Pharaoh, the undead art. I mean, the undead legion. Armor. I was thinking on stripping the whole thing off and making a new Figma with I keep forgetting the name, the Legion armor. But all of these weapons, the heavy ones, were made for this one. So when I found out on eBay that these things exist, I hit a brick wall because these weapons are made of brass and they are very heavy. This is the Evangelist mace. This one is the everyone's favorite, the great axe. This thing is heavy as sin. The Pharaoh, the Pharaoh ultra great sword with a dagger. This one can actually wield it, but the problem is, since this thing is so heavy, the weapon can only be like it has to be touching the ground, or else the wrist might snap. And my favorite one, the Profane ultra great sword. I don't know if you can see the designs on it. I tried to make it as close to the original. This one is pure brass. I mean, all the weapons are pure brass. So when I was remaking this one, oh, and the dark sword. You can't forget the dark sword. They're one spam. Nobody can forget this fucking weapon. So when I was remaking this one, it occurred to me that if I wanted it to have, the Artorias pose, it had to be lighter, and the weight should be on the hilt, so it can have a better center of gravity instead of having the whole freaking thing. So I end up using wood for the blade, and the hilt it's brass that I painted with some what's it called, enamel. This way, the weapon can be used with any type of with any type of setup you want, because it's not as heavy as it should be. Let me see. I can even do the hold on the back weapon without. Well, thank you for being so helpful. Like this. Since the armor is quite heavy, because the whole thing is made of brass, it actually counterweight the weight on the weapon, which it makes out for really cool poses. Now the next one I'm working on, it's the Alone Captain, the one with the big shoulder, like Samu's shoulders, and the really tall helm. I'm working on that one. I'm also working on a statue of Nero, from Dark Souls 1, and a statue of Bastion. Now, this is it for the Artorias figma. I don't think I want to change anything about it. I really like the way it came out. Well, that's it.